Welcome into the DFS Den. It's Dave Eddy here, aka Corporal Eddy on Twitter. Back at you for another divisional round video. The other videos I hopefully you've seen have been showdown videos where I break down each individual matchup. This video is going to be for the entire 4-game slate as a whole. So let's not waste too much time here and let's just hop into things. We'll start off, of course, with quarterbacks. And, I kind of, said the same thing in the wild card round where, now that we're in the playoffs, you get to a point where you've got a lot of good options available, typically in interesting matchups as well. And no different here. I think the two guys that I'm least interested in playing, just because, again, if you watch the showdown videos, you know how I feel about that Cowboys 49ers game. I think it's going to be low scoring. I actually think that the Cowboys are going to pull out like a 2017 type victory. And so because I think that's going to be such a low scoring game, I think the lowest scoring game of the whole bunch, I think I'm just out on those two quarterbacks. But let's talk about the guys I'm playing. I think Josh Allen is kind of the no-brainer for me as far as the number one quarterback on this slate, going up against, Cincinnati in what I think is going to be a high-scoring game. I'm not sure if it's going to be the highest-scoring game, but when you get a quarterback like Josh Allen who, we know he can run, we know he can pass, we know he's got good weapons to throw the ball to. Gabe Davis likes to, show out in the playoffs, so you can add another big-time weapon potentially. And spoiler alert from when I get to the wide receivers, Gabe Davis is pretty cheap. So Josh Allen, I don't know where I'm going to sit with him. On a 4-game slate, I'm willing to play players at a higher exposure than I would on a regular 11, 12, 13-game main slate. So might get as high as 70%, but might get as low as 40%. But I'm looking there. Jalen Hurts, same thing as, Allen as far as ability to run, ability to pass. He's got great weapons. My concern there is how healthy is he? I don't know that we'll know until, after that game, but it's just hard not to play him here. And so he's a guy I'm probably looking to have in the, 20, 25% neighborhood maybe. And then I'm going to sprinkle in some Burrow, obviously getting off some of that Allen chalk a little bit. And with the, weapons that he has in a game where I do expect points to be put up, I think Burrow is a guy that you can play. I would double stack Burrow if I'm playing him on such a small slate. It's correlation. So I can get away with stacking one guy with Allen or Hurts because they run so much, even though I am not opposed to double stacking either of them. But when you get to a Burrow, I'm looking to double stack. The game that I think is going to score the most points on the weekend, KC and Jacksonville. Obviously, that means I'm interested in both. The issue for, the Mahomes stacks are, he's the most expensive quarterback. And if I'm playing him, me personally, I'm going to want Travis Kelce with him because I don't know who else I can trust. And that gets expensive. So it's hard to play. It's hard to play Mahomes because you just don't know who to put him with. And he doesn't run like Allen and Hurts do. So it just makes it a little trickier to play. Obviously, very much in play here. Best overall quarterback on the slate with the, highest scoring game as well. So Mahomes is perfectly fine to play. And then it's kind of the same thing with Trevor Lawrence on the other side. High scoring game. I'm going to expect a lot of points both ways. I'm seeing something like 38-31 for that game. So Chiefs winning. But if I'm playing Lawrence, I'm stacking him with two guys because, again, he's not running around like Allen and Hurts. So if he's going to be optimal at quarterback, he's going to be bringing guys along with him. So that's where I'm sitting there. Let's go ahead and pop on over to the running backs. Running backs, I think I'm going to have exposure kind of spread out here, kind of a little bit like quarterback, but just more so. Of course, we're playing two running backs, maybe three, with the flex involved. But, Jared McKinnon is going to be my favorite. At just $6,000, I think his ceiling is just ridiculous. Probably outside of CMC. I'm trying to think if I want to put Saquon in that mix against Philly. So I don't know. I'm going to say outside of CMC, I think McKinnon has the highest ceiling. and he is coming in 6th in salary. So I like it. I don't know how much I'm willing to play of him. I don't know where I want to cap it. Maybe even as high as 80%. Again, highest scoring game on the slate, in my opinion. And he's a guy who has been absolutely tearing it up, as of late. Basically, since week 13, he has been a machine, and he's been great for DFS. So very interested there. I think I'm interested in Joe Mixon as well, probably my second exposure running back. And just, Mixon can have those massive games. And I think that this Bengals and Bills game remains close, even though I think they're going to put up points. If the game remains close, which again I think it will, then that's where we're going to see Mixon, staying involved in the entire game. If they get way behind, if they're chasing points, they're down. Let's say they're down 2 touchdowns, 17 points, even in the first half. He's gonna see less time, and you're gonna see Samaje on the field. So the fact that I think it's going to be close means we should see decent volume here from Mixon. So that makes him very interesting to me. And then I'm not at all opposed to Isaac Pacheco here either. I mean, he doesn't have the ceiling that a guy like McKinnon does, but he is pretty consistent. And his price tag, is he going to pay off 3x? He's 5,500. 16.5 points. Nah, probably not. But I think he does get you a little bit more unique, because I think McKinnon's going to be drastically more owned. So don't be afraid to play Pacheco. And then Travis Etienne, it's going to be a high-scoring game, like I said. So as many guys from KC and Jacksonville as you want to play, I don't have a problem with it. I would have no problem playing 2 players from each side, even without one of the 2 quarterbacks. I think that could be another way to get unique and take advantage of that game. So, you could play a Josh Allen with 2 Chiefs and 2 Jaguars, stack him with Gabe Davis and Dawson Knox, and there you go. There's pretty much your whole entire lineup. And you're really attacking some great spots. So, obviously CMC I'm very interested in. He's going to be expensive, and since I don't think I'm paying down here at quarterback, because the pay down means I'm either playing, Brock Purdy or Daniel Jones. I'm not playing Brock Purdy. Daniel Jones is interesting, but the point here is that I'm not sure that I'm going to have a salary to be super interested in CMC, which is fine, because naturally, like I said, I'm expecting a 2017 type game. So even though in that game in particular, CMC is going to get his compared to the others in that game, the other game environments are so good compared to that, in my opinion, that I'm going to be underweight on CMC. And, I'm probably still going to have 25, 30% of him. So it's not like I'm a full fade, but I'm going to be underweight on him. And then Tony Pollard, I'm also interested in him because just like CMC, Tony Pollard is a dual threat back. He can do it on the ground. He can do it through the air as well. So he's not really going to get game scripted out. Really, the only way he would probably see less touches is maybe if, Cowboys get out to a big lead and they want to pound the ball with Zeke. I don't see that happening, so I'm not too worried about it. But that's kind of what I'm looking at for running backs. Let me get over to receivers. Zay Jones, I just think is mispriced. 4,700, and he's kind of boom or bust. So he could either get you 5 or 6, or he could get you 20 plus. I guess there is some in between in there, but that kind of seems like if you look at his, history here in his last, whatever games, that's what he does. 5 or 6 points or 20 plus. Again, that matchup is fantastic, and I expect a lot of points to be scored. So I'm not saying I'm banking on 20 plus, but I'm willing to take the shot that he gets there. Jamar Chase is interesting. Super high ceiling, obviously. Game, I think, is going to be scoring points. He's the most expensive wide receiver on the slate. But, you do have to spend your money somewhere, right? So, very interested there. And obviously you can run him back with your, Allen stacks. You'll have to save money elsewhere, but, that's where a guy like McKinnon comes in handy. That's where a guy like Gabe Davis comes in handy to save salary, And then speaking of those guys, Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, going to have a lot of those guys because, I'm going to be having at least one of those two stacked with Josh Allen when I play him. And then if I don't have them both stacked, then, I'm going to be having a Dawson Knox in there as well. So, that's kind of where I'm looking at those guys. I think, Juju's interesting. He was getting some pretty good volume up through week 15, and then it really died off in 16, 17, 18. But, he had a couple weeks where he was getting double-digit targets, and, he's doing some work with that. And with so many points being scored, Kelsey can't be the only one who catches balls. So you've got to figure that, somebody else is going to have a decent game, or you're going to have quite a few guys, or somebody's going to have a big game, or quite a few guys with a decent game. So interested in him there. And then even though, again, low-scoring game with Dallas and San Francisco, in my opinion, Debo is a big play guy. You saw last week, the big touchdown catch. So I do think that the touchdowns and the points that we see in that game are going to probably be on big plays. That's just, again, the way that I'm looking at things. That's the way I'm building. So I don't mind, a CMC. I don't mind a Debo. I don't mind a CeeDee Lamb, guys that are going to make big plays. Tony Pollard, again. That's why I'm not really so much in on Zeke. I don't see Zeke breaking off a 60-yard run, but I can see Pollard doing it. So, interested there. So, and then, sprinkle in a whole bunch of the other guys, A.J. Brown, Tyler Boyd, Richie James, Isaiah Hodgkins, little T.Y. Hilton. I mean, sprinkle in a little bit of these guys. But that's where the majority of my exposure is going to go there at wide receiver. And then tight ends, on a regular slate, tight end can be a dumpster fire. It almost always is. Tight end is where we pay down and save a bunch of money, almost exclusively, unless you're paying up for Kelsey. In my opinion, it's either pay for Kelsey or completely punt the position. We don't have to do that here. And to be quite honest with you, as crazy as it's going to sound, because I've said probably 10 times already how many points I think the Chiefs and Jags are going to score. As it sits right now, I don't think I'm going to have exposure to Travis Kelsey. And I know that sounds absolutely ridiculous, but I just think that there's other places I want to spend my money. And I think that that's the way that I can get unique, is by not playing Travis Kelsey or playing him at a pretty low amount. I mean, to be fair, obviously he has his massive games, but if we go back and we look at his last 6 games, only 2 of them have been over 12 points. And at his salary, $7,700, that's pretty healthy. I mean, you're paying for a receiver, which is fine. Well, you should. I mean, Kelsey is that kind of a tight end that, I consider him a receiver. So just as an off thought, on any slate, even a main slate, I usually set a rule to where, I won't play a tight end in the flex. The exception is unless Travis Kelsey is in that lineup. So I don't mind playing Kelsey in the flex ever. I'm always okay with it because I consider him a wide receiver. If I play, Kelsey in the tight end spot, I don't mind playing a tight end in the flex. So I don't consider Kelsey a tight end per se, and I manipulate my lineup around that. But here, even though I feel the same way, I'd be totally fine playing Kelsey in the flex. I think I'm just going to be off of him and use that as a way to get unique and hope it doesn't bite me in the ass. So who am I playing if I'm not playing Travis Kelsey? That's a great question. 3 guys I'm most interested in: Evan Ingram, Dawson Knox, Dalton Schultz. The way things have been going lately, you can consider Evan Ingram a wide receiver as well. If you go back and we look, let's see, his last 7 games, he's had at least 3x in all but 2 of those games. The guy's been ridiculous. I mean, he's had, 3 20-point games over his last 6. One of them was a 40-point game. He had a big game last week, 7 catches, 93 yards and a touchdown, and he's only 4,300. That's cheap. I mean, for a tight end, it's okay, but for a player of his caliber with what he's doing, I'm very interested in Evan Ingram. And then Dawson Knox, he's just a guy I always like playing in the tight end spot when I play, Josh Allen stacks. I don't ever plan on just having a Allen and Knox stack. He's always going to be, my secondary piece in a way that I can correlate tight end. A lot of times the tight end is just a punt, so it becomes an uncorrelated play. But and do like slipping a guy like Knox in. And I mean, not for nothing, he's got a touchdown in 5 straight games. So if he does that, he's going to be about a shoe in for double-digit points. And if he gets 10 points, he's a fine play. You really only need 11 and some change for it to be that 3x number. So very interesting there. And then again, I've been talking about the 49ers Dallas game. I think it's going to be fairly low scoring, but that doesn't mean Dalton Schultz can't get his. I still don't mind Schultz. I still don't mind Lamb in that game. I don't mind Pollard in that game, but I just, this game is just going to score, in my opinion, so much fewer points than the others that, I'm interested in Schultz. Don't get me wrong. $4,200 though, basically same price as Evan Ingram and a little bit more expensive than Dawson Knox. And I like both those other guys more. So, 40% maybe Ingram and Knox, maybe the leftover for Schultz with a little sprinkling of Dallas Goedert. That's kind of where my head's at right now. And then defenses. Defense gets hard here because you've got nothing but good teams left. So you kind of got to just pick your battles here. I do like the idea of, stacking a defense with a running back, but you've got such few options, it becomes difficult. I mean, I've got some interest in a little bit of everyone. What I would honestly say, fill out your lineup everywhere but defense, and then play whatever defense, is left that works best for you. No one's too expensive. The most expensive defense is only $3,300. That's the Niners up against the Cowboys. So you're not, at anywhere going to have to spend a lot of money on defense. So you kind of just get in what fits in is my best advice there. I wouldn't worry too much about it. We know it's a volatile position. We know that, we know we can't really accurately predict what's going to happen. So if you've got a strong feel, you think that somebody is going under owned, or you think that some defense is, just the best play on the slate, knock yourself out, go for it. I like to spread my ownership out, even on a small slate. Probably won't have more than like 40% of any defense. If I had to tell you my favorite as it sits right now, I'd say the Eagles, just because I think that the Eagles and the Cowboys are going to have the best chance of, putting up solid points. Can we trust Daniel Jones? I don't know. Can we trust Brock Purdy? I don't know. Everyone else I can say with some confidence, I feel like they could have a really good game. So that's what I'm thinking there. Appreciate you tuning in. Hopefully you've checked out all the rest of the divisional round showdown matchups. If you haven't, go ahead and do that. I'm going to have a link up above me here in just a second where you can click and watch all those. Throw a like on here, and if you haven't done so yet, pop on over here, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications so you get an alert every time a new video comes out. I appreciate you tuning in. I wish you the best of luck this week, and I'll see you for the conference championships.